Stay with me if you want it. Stay with me if you want it. Stay with me if you want it. Stay with me.
Yes. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you. Welcome to the 2023 Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Summer Retreat. My name is Anita Bell. I work in the Continuing Education and Workforce Development Department as the Director of Workforce Pathways, and I will be your Mistress of Ceremonies today. So we're very excited to have all of you here, faculty, staff, community members, trustees, dignitaries, taking part in our second annual retreat. I'm going to give you a brief overview of what the day is going to hold, and then we'll start with opening remarks. So today we are having introductory remarks this morning. We will be looking at program recognitions. We will then have a wonderful keynote address from Reverend Al Sharpton. Yes, and then we will go downstairs for the awards luncheon. After that, we will come back upstairs and we will go into workshops, which will be described later. We will then come for our second amazing keynote address from Dr. Jelani Cobb. We will then have workshops again, all on this floor, and then we will come back for closing. So we should conclude the day at 5 o'clock, maybe a few minutes earlier, but that is what the day holds. So I want to leave you with a few things to think about as we go into this retreat. There's 3 P's that I attempt to live my life by, and that's passion, possibilities, and purpose. Finding the thing that you love to do. What's your passion? What could you do day in and day out and love? Even if you won the lottery tomorrow, you'd still want to have this infused in your life. Because, we all hope, even if we don't play. The possibilities. What are the things that are possible for you to do with your passion? How can you infuse that in your life? How can you bring something to yourself while also bringing to someone else? And then that leaves us with purpose. What do we do that leaves the world a better place than when we found it? This is something that I tell my children all the time. This is something that I try to live my life with. I can't fix everything. I can't change everything. But I have something in me, a genius, a purpose, a desire, the passion, and a bevy of possibilities in front of me that will allow me to do something to make a difference, to make a change, and to leave the world better than I found it. So as we go into the retreat today and we hear about leading with your heart, leading with your mind, leading with your hand, I want you to take those 3 Ps with you and think about what is your passion? What are the possibilities that are open to you? And what's your purpose? How are you taking these things that we're going to learn today, what you already have inside of you, and make the world better, just even if it's by a small bit? So with that, I'd like to introduce Dr. Christopher Reber, President of Hudson County Community College.
Thank you so much, Anita. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. What a great crowd. And we also have folks joining us virtually. So we welcome all of you, those of you in the Scott Ring room, those of you in the cloud. Today, we've reached another milestone on Hudson County Community College's equity and inclusion journey. I should say diversity, equity, and inclusion journey. And by the way, there's a lot of discussion about DEI and its relevance. It has never been more important and relevant here, and it ain't going away. We strongly believe in DEI. It's a foundational principle and priority for us here. This is our second annual DEI Summer Retreat, and it provides all of us an inspirational opportunity to reflect on the first 4 years of our college-wide and collaborative work together that's greatly benefited from the leadership and support of the President's Advisory Council on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, which we know as PAC Day. We celebrate so many accomplishments and outcomes that are the result of the engagement and dedication of trustees, faculty, staff, students, community members, alumni, foundation directors, donors, friends. from all parts of our HCCC family and our larger community. Looking back, we take stock of some notable initiatives and achievements over the past year. These include ongoing leadership of diverse and inclusive teams to support the attainment of our shared vision and goals, leveraging the impact of the Bellwether Award-winning Hudson Scholars Program on narrowing equity gaps, continued growth and development of the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Student Passport Program, and you'll hear about these programs later today. Robust college-wide participation in professional development opportunities, including the eCornell Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Certificate Program, programming and training across the college related to Title IX and gender equity, our nationally distinctive DEI Student Passport Program, and so many others. And phenomenal local and national participation in our second annual virtual Teaching and Learning Symposium on Social Justice in Higher Education, led by Dr. Paula Roberson and attended by, this year, by more than 700 people in 35 states and abroad. Is Paula here? Is Dr. Roberson here? Stand up. Thank you for your leadership. And it keeps getting bigger. She's already working on next year. Rich programming that supports, informs, and inspires all in our community, including new and expanded memorials and celebrations of Juneteenth, Martin Luther King Jr., and 9/11, among others. Hosting national organizations at Hudson County Community College, such as the Hispanic Association of Colleges and Universities, HACU on the Road at HCCC, and the 2023 Northeast and Mid-Atlantic Creative Placemaking Leadership Summit, both held here in May. Our college's engagement in the Achieving the Dream University of Southern California Racial Equity Leadership Academy, or RELA. The inclusion of Eid and Diwali holidays in our academic calendar, and so many other points of pride. We celebrate and take stock of collective outcomes greater than the sum of their parts and growing national recognition of HCCC best practices. As we continue advancing efforts around our shared goals for student success and diversity, equity, and inclusion, I hope you'll each also take pride in your own significant contributions. It truly takes a village. Together, we're changing lives and improving our community, and that's something to celebrate. Today, we'll have the opportunity to reflect on and discuss our vision, dreams, aspirations, and plans going forward as we seek continuous improvement around our shared values and goals. And perhaps most important, we will have opportunities today to enjoy and celebrate one another. I join all of you in welcoming our inspirational keynote speaker, the Reverend Al Sharpton. I hope his ears are burning. He was on Morning Joe this morning. Some of you might have seen him. And he is on his way now from Morning Joe to here. And so we'll be welcoming him in a few minutes. But of course, Reverend Sharpton's joining us today is a moment in time that we'll all remember and cherish for years to come. So we thank Reverend Sharpton. He inspires all of us. And we thank our dear friends and partners, former New Jersey Governor James McGreevey and New Jersey Reentry Corporation Board Chair, Reverend Bolivar Flores, for introducing us to Reverend Sharpton. And I don't think Jim and Bolivar are here yet. I do believe they're coming, but we thank them and their caring and inspirational colleagues for the life-changing and transformational impact of their leadership and support for reentry and court-involved citizens and beyond. And from the bottom of our hearts, we look forward to welcoming and thanking Dr. Jelani Cobb, Dean of Columbia University's School of Journalism, who will discuss the timely and important topic of the future of equity in higher education. I'm anxious to hear those remarks. And as many of you know, Dr. Cobb is a national speaker and person of influence who has been very articulate about these issues that concern all of us. I want to thank Dr. Darrell Jones for leading our invitation to Dr. Cobb and making possible his inspirational presence and participation today. Dr. Jones, thank you. And I learned yesterday that actually Dr. Jones met Dr. Cobb in college at Howard University. And so they're friends, and it's going to be great seeing both of you as Dr. Cobb speaks today. And on behalf of the entire HCCC family, I thank all of you for participating in this summer annual meeting. I thank and salute all members of PAC Day with a special shout out to co-chairs Rafi Manjikian and Natalia Vasquez-Bodkin. Can you stand? Rafi's here. Is Natalia here? No. Thank you, sir. For those of us here in the HCCC family, we know Rafi's everywhere. And but we really appreciate your leadership, Rafi. And we also celebrate our inspirational inaugural Vice President for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, Dr. Joris Pujols. Dr. Pujols, thanks for your leadership. He became a doctor just recently, and we celebrate that. And we thank their DEI colleagues, and I'll be leaving people out, and I apologize, but want to thank Corinne Davis, Michelle Vitale, Candace Peterson, and so many others who contribute to and make all of our work possible. We also thank and celebrate all of today's presenters and facilitators who will make our time together informative, productive, and enjoyable. We thank HCCC trustees Bakari Lee and Pamela Gardner, both members of our President's Advisory Council on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Trustee Gardner is here. Is Trustee Lee here? He's going to be here. Trustees Lee and Gardner, thank you for your vision, passion, leadership, insights, and your strong engagement in our DEI agenda and beyond. Trustees Lee and Gardner have helped galvanize our HCCC community around the mission-centric priority of ensuring that all in our community can learn, work, and grow in a culture of care where every person matters, everyone's contributions are acknowledged and celebrated, and our rich diversity is the foundation for the achievement and well-being of every cherished member of our HCCC family. And we also will be welcoming Trustee Jeanette Pena. Jeanette's not here yet either. Or they may be here on the cloud. But Trustee Pena will also be joining us today, and we thank her for all she does to support this inspirational college and the community we serve. We want to thank all members of our Latino Advisory Council and our African American Outreach Committee, led and supported by Wendy Martinez and Pamela Gardner, respectively. If you're a member of the Latino Advisory Council or the African American Outreach Committee, will you please stand? Just stand and accept our thanks for your strong support and leadership. We thank our community leaders and partners for their leadership, advocacy, and support of Hudson County Community College's transformational and life-changing mission, which is truly the gateway to the American dream for thousands and thousands of Hudson County residents, citizens, and beyond, right here in the shadow of the Statue of Liberty. We thank Jersey City Council President Joyce Waterman, City Councilperson Denise Ridley, Hudson County Economic Development Executive Director Michelle Richardson, who's also on our foundation board, Jersey City Director of Development and Diversity and Inclusion, Dr. Floyd Jeter, also recently received his doctorate. Floyd, congratulations out there. And we will be welcoming later NJCU Interim President Andres Siba. We will welcome Outreach Advisor to Senator Robert Menendez, Diego Marziego, Jersey City School Superintendent Dr. Norma Fernandez, Union City School Superintendent Sylvia Abado, Trinity Lutheran Church Pastor Reverend Diane Lewis, Save Latin America Community Resource Director Francisco Guzman, and many others. If you're here and I've mentioned you, will you please stand and accept our thanks? Michelle. Some people are not standing. Very importantly, we thank our dedicated colleagues on the DEI Retreat Planning Committee for all they have done to bring us together and all they do for our students, our college, and our community. If you're in the room, will you please stand as you're able when I introduce you? And please hold your applause until everyone has been recognized. It takes a village. So we thank Caroline Arriaga, Anita Bell, Lisa Bogart, please stand, Dr. Christopher Conzen, Katura Curtis, Sharon Daughtry, Reverend Bolivar Flores, Veronica Girosimo, Dr. Floyd Jeter, Dr. Darrell Jones, Dr. Ara Karakashian, Anna Kropitsky, Maria Lita Sarmiento, Tiana Malcolm, Rafi Manjikian, Tamia Martins, Amala Ogburn, Tejal Parikh, Candace Peterson, Dr. Yuris Pujols, Maritza Reyes, Michelle Richardson, Dr. Paula Roberson, Mirta Sanchez, Dr. Kate Thurman, Natalia Vasquez Bodkin, Richard Walker, and Albert Williams. Thank you, dear colleagues. Thank you for this great day. And perhaps most important of all of these important acknowledgments, we want to thank and salute our inspirational and diverse students whose commitment, dedication, intellect, service, perseverance, and often silent heroism are truly transformational. Our students have coined the phrase, Hudson is home, and they're the reason all of us are involved in college life. Thank you, students. Students, please stand and accept our thanks. All students. If you don't stand, it's going to be reflected in your grades. Thank you. You're the reason we're all here. You inspire us. So, dear friends, please enjoy this stimulating day. It's an honor to be a member of the HCCC family in this beautiful journey together. We thank all who are participating on this journey of love, caring, respect, and inclusion, and all who are helping us achieve the greatest dreams and aspirations. Hudson is home. Thank you.
Now I'd like to take the opportunity to welcome Dr. Yuris Pujols, Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
Good morning, everyone. It is a pleasure to be here with all of you today. I also want to say thank you, first of all, to Anita for keeping it all together, being the glue of this excellent program that we're putting together today. And I also want to echo what Chris said. All those names that were mentioned, like this program came together, so many hands were involved on it to make sure that we were here today. I also want to recognize our IT team to make sure that every time you press the power button, the machine works. I want to recognize our security team to make sure that they support the program, the logistics. Our facilities team, I mean, they set up every room that you're going to be in. And of course, I also want to thank and recognize Karen and Chef Kurt Sipo from Flake for serving the wonderful breakfast and food that we're going to be eating later today. Today, we've put together an excellent program that you'll be engaged in workshops, lectures, panels, and some of the themes that we're going to come across are social justice, advocacy, accessibility, mental health, gender equity, and so many others. And as Chris mentioned, throughout the day, we're going to be taking stock of some of the accomplishments, some of the flagship programs that have really made our experience here at Hudson County Community College really unique. I just encourage you to engage with the speakers, with each other, ask questions, and the goal is that you'll be able to, maybe learn something new, maybe build meaningful relationships, and maybe walk away with having some type of a next step or plan of how you could get involved in this. Other than the lunch program that will happen in the first floor, all the other sessions will be happening in this floor. The smaller sessions, the roundtable discussions will be happening right across in room 216. Then 215 will be hosting some of the workshops, and the rest of the program, we anticipate a larger number of people will participate, will stay in this room. And Anita mentioned we're going to be here, that we're going to be, we're going to be going from a breakout session to a joint session. I want to briefly touch base with something that Chris mentioned in his remarks. He finished with the theme, as he always does, Hudson is home, right? Hudson is home, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. Home is where you feel safe enough where you could be yourself, and where those around you create a sense of community, and a place where you long for whenever you find yourself in a welcoming environment or situations. Our college is home, and as we briefly provide the programs of the sessions, or what's happening here, we're hoping to illustrate that. And all of that ultimately comes down to the student experience. That is the aim, and that is our goal. I also want to highlight that what is happening at Hudson County Community College, the experiences that we share here, they're not happening everywhere. We cannot put a finger on the sun and pretend that is not there. Very briefly, I wanted just to bring us back a little bit, before we could talk about this moment, but I want to go back to 2020. 2020, we were dealing with a pandemic. We could talk about the loss of life, of loved ones that we lost. But I just wanted to talk specifically how different communities were affected differently. There were some of us that were able to stay employed, were able to work remote, were able to keep our insurance, and everything kind of worked out. Some of us were able to do social distancing and effectively quarantine whenever we're infected with the virus. Unfortunately, that was not the reality for everyone, right? Part-time employees often were the first ones to go, the ones to lose their insurance. And also, I remember growing up in West New York. I lived in a one-bedroom apartment with so many other family members, right? And the whole concept of quarantining is like, well, if I got that, it's like, okay, I'm just going to stay in this room and, like the other person will be next to me. And, I just wanted to highlight that it's a reality that was not all of us. That, in addition to that, you cannot not mention the murder of George Floyd. That highlighted a moment in May that brought forward a reckoning. Marches, protests, everywhere. Companies were investing a lot of monies in Black-owned companies. My wife, she works for a Black-owned media company, and she told me that the projected revenue for the whole year, they were able to make it in a quarter. It's just how much the volume of investment was. And some of us were thinking, have we reached a point in which we, that we've turned a leap in our history, in our country, right? The social justice, or justice, just simply justice and fairness will be centered to everything that happened. And I remember some of the countless, Amala's probably going to laugh at me when I say this, but the countless programs and sessions that we had, I always ask, is this a movement or is this a movement? And whenever I was going to ask it, it's like, oh my God, he's going to say that again, And we didn't know. Predicting the future is something that you cannot do. It just doesn't work. But, we were optimistic. Just last month, Chris, Professor Gian Batiste, Anna Kupritsky, Dr. Gretchen Schultes, we went to Los Angeles for a Racial Equity Leadership Academy programming. We heard from one of the presenters, Dr. Sean Harper. He's the executive director of the Universities of Southern California's Race and Equity Center. And he's one of the prominent scholars when it comes to racial equity work. And he asked the same question. And of course, I'm like, oh, I hope I sounded as cool, when I said that. But he answered the question and he said, it was a moment. It was not a movement, it was a moment in time. And everything that is happening everywhere right now highlights that, right? Like we have our ecosystem that is wonderful, but in some other places you see how laws are being passed, how certain agendas are being pushed that are counter to diversity, equity, inclusion. The whole concept of equity, which we're going to be listening later today, is under attack. And that's kind of like what is out there. So it wasn't a moment. Something that he did say is that our moment, our aspirational movement, created a counter movement, and that's kind of like what we're seeing. He also said that there's going to be a counter movement against that movement, and there's going to be us. And this is why we're holding this program together. We're doubling down on those efforts because diversity, equity, and inclusion is important. And that's how it's important to celebrate each other. And that's what I have with this, or that I have to share with you today. I hope, again, that you're able to gain something from this. And I just wanted to say that we live in a community that is very diverse. We celebrate it, we embrace each other. And unlike so many other places in which they're known for their intolerance, lack of inclusion, and straight up backward thinking, we're the opposite of that. And we're able to showcase an environment that is inclusive, that is tolerant, and is forward thinking. And all of us get an opportunity to do that today. But with that, I thank you for your time. I hope that you have a wonderful retreat. And again, I hope to meet a lot of you as the day progresses. And this is the beginning, to set us back, to reset us, and put us on track to make sure that we continue doing the work that we're doing. And finally, I want to say, when I'm talking about our community, I'm extremely proud of Hudson County Community College, the community that we have created, but also proud of our cities, that we're able to have this ecosystem here. I'm really proud of our town, our county, and our state. With that, I thank you for your time and enjoy the rest of that program. Thank you.
And now I'd like to welcome Professor Rafi Manjikian, co-chair of the President's Advisory Council on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion.
Those are some tough acts to follow, so I will do my best. I took the advice of everyone, and usually I come up here without any prepared remarks. I just speak off the cuff, but today I took the advice of many, and I have prepared remarks like my colleagues. So I'm going to do my best to live up to their level, so please bear with me if I seem a little nervous. All right, so good morning, everyone, and welcome to our annual DEI retreat. So I'm truly excited to be here and to see this event come to fruition. For those who don't know me, my name is Professor Rafi Manjikian, and I'm an instructor of chemistry for the School of STEM, and as said, the co-chair of PACDE, which is the President's Advisory Council for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. So today, as you've heard, we have an amazing retreat in store for everyone, and I, as well as many others, are truly grateful that you all made time to attend. I would be remiss if I didn't thank those who took the time to help plan this retreat. As Dr. Reber and Yuris mentioned, many, and you heard many enthusiastic people were involved in putting this together right up until this morning. A lot of people worked endless hours in the evening, and a lot of people worked at 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m. to make sure that we're all here today to have this event. I'd like to also thank all the members of the planning committee and the PACDE members for their efforts in making today a success. A huge thank you to all of the speakers and presenters as well, who have arranged their schedules to bestow us with their knowledge and wisdom. So as you can see, everyone has truly come together here today and worked toward this common goal. One special shout out among the many that you've heard I would like to give is to Communications, Jen and Desiree and their team for creating this spectacular booklet that you see. As I mentioned, there were a lot of endless hours in the evening and this morning, so this booklet went to print last night and was delivered this morning to be delivered and distributed to you all today. So thank you, Jen and Desiree and your team. So as I reflect on my first year of being the co-chair of PACDE, I am reminded of the many special events that we as a community have hosted, the unique events where I've represented HCCC, and the numerous people whom I've met. Just recently, I had the pleasure of attending the Diversity Action Alliance Gala with Dr. Paula Robinson in Gotham Hall, New York City. We represented the college at the event as a finalist for the Best Internal DEI Initiative Award for college and universities. Thank you, Paula, for inviting me to accompany you to that event. So at that event, and among all the other events, I'm amazed to see how we play a tremendous role in pushing DEI forward by continuing to be a pioneer and champion for the cause. So my attendance at these various DEI events throughout the year has provided me opportunities to continually learn new things and to also reflect. So in my quiet moments, I pause to ponder what DEI actually means to me. While I could stand here and list the many examples of how I incorporate DEI into my daily routine and also specifically in the classroom, remember I do teach chemistry, so specifically in the classroom, and how student success and DEI are the main goals of our institution, I don't believe it would be the truest representation of the meaning. To me, DEI is simply all about respecting one another and encouraging teamwork. It inspires embracing various thoughts and ideals by giving everyone a chance to contribute. It creates safe spaces for everyone to feel comfortable and valued in desiring to share those thoughts and ideals. It's also about showcasing multiculturalism and welcoming and accepting different viewpoints. So that is what DEI has meant to me and what I've learned and continue to learn by being the co-chair of PACDE. So this leads me to our famous phrase that you've already heard from Dr. Reber and yours Pujols. And if you know me, I always tell you this phrase as well, Hudson is home, which, as you heard, was coined from our students. So while I'm sure each and every one of you recites this phrase as much as you can, multiple times on a daily basis, just like I do hope that it does hold some genuine value to you and a special place in your heart. To me, this phrase symbolizes that we're all collegial and possess camaraderie with one another. We all want the best for each other and strive to ensure everyone in our community succeeds. The fact that we can all come together like we did right now in just 2 months' time to create this remarkable retreat shows how special a place our institution is. Lastly, while Hudson is home and you are all like my family, one person who is able to be here to show her support and whom I consider an honorary member of HCC because she doesn't work here, is my wife, Beata. So she's over there. So I'm very thankful that she's here and also for her contributions to the retreat as well. You might have noticed she was helping with the check-in this morning. So thanks again to everyone who helped in planning this retreat for your hard work and support. I ask that you all enjoy what we have in store for today's program and events, and I look forward to your contributions later on during the afternoon workshops. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Now I'd like to take some time, and we're going to go through program recognitions. We're going to speak about programs that we have had happen here on Hudson's grounds for staff, faculty, community, and students. We're going to start with Dr. Paula Roberson, Director of Center for Teaching, Learning, and Innovation. She's going to speak about the Teaching and Learning Symposium on Social Justice in Higher Education.
Thank you, Anita. Good morning, everyone. It is great to see all of you here to reset, renew, and reflect, and most of all, become reinvigorated about our commitment to each other, to humanity. I am Dr. Paula Roberson, Director of the Center for Teaching, Learning, and Innovation, and this month the center turns 4 years old. A point of pride for our college is the Teaching and Learning Symposium on Social Justice in Higher Education. We have grown from a virtual town hall discussion, as Julius referenced, about the murder of George Floyd, to a book talk. The book talk was White Fragility by Robin DiAngelo. The next year, we were asked to do another book talk. And we read, this was a statewide book talk with community colleges, and we read Stamped from the Beginning by Ibram X. Kendi, A History of Racist Ideas in America. And then we grew to professional development workshops that promote understanding and honest discussion about race and its implications in America. A sample of those workshops were The Myth of the Angry Black Woman, The Soul of the Black Professor, Designing Equity-Centered Courses, Unmasking Imposter Syndrome, Microaggressions, Identification and Mitigation, as sourced by the Association of College and University Educators. These were also included as part of the micro-credentials where our faculty and staff earned nationwide recognition with the certificate in one of these programs, one of these courses. The CTLI was tapped to enrich and enhance the construction management curriculum with DEI teaching and learning strategies for the New Jersey State Pathways program. We have grown exponentially from year one of the symposium to provide professional development. Year one, we provided 485 participants in 13 states. In year one, to almost over 900 participants from 132 colleges across 35 states in our continental United States, and 2 international colleges. Social justice issues are a national concern, and our higher education community has a responsibility to our students to stay current in our offerings. I will say that Hudson County Community College right now, we are ahead of the curve. So hit the like button, follow, subscribe, and register for the next symposium. Watch the portal for 2 weeks. We will be out there for you to register. So this year, the symposium has been formally adopted by the college, and we are now institutionalized, meaning we have faculty, and we have a faculty committee who are planning the symposium. So trust me, this is going to be fire. If you thought the last 2 were good, it's going to be better. So we have 16 members that have formulated to plan the program, already scheduled for your teaching and learning enrichment for 2024 are Mr. Eliud Fred Garcia, author of Words on Fire, The Power of Incendiary Language and How to Confront It. He is the president of the crisis management firm Logos Consulting Group based in New York, and he coaches over 400 CEOs of major corporations and many high-profile doctors, scientists, lawyers, financial executives, military leaders, and more. He's also an adjunct at NYU in Columbia. We also have the Patterson Healing Collective, a mental health crisis intervention nonprofit that Najee Seabrooks was an active member of in Patterson, New Jersey. As some of you may not know, Najee was killed by the police during a mental health crisis in March of this year. We also have Tony McClear, author of The Cure for Hate, a former white supremacist. He documents his journey from violent extremism to radical compassion. We also have Mark Talley, author of The Day the Devil Came to Buffalo and founder of Agents for Advocacy. Mr. Talley's book is about his experience since the day his mother was murdered in the Buffalo mass shooting massacre last year. Finally, this is not really finally, but it's what I'm going to tell you. The center is partnering with Passaic County Community College with their director of culturally responsive teaching and learning. She's the culturally responsive teaching and learning consultant at Passaic County Community College. We are planning a community inclusive film screening collaborative on the right to read. So this is only a preliminary peek into the greatness to come into the third covenant of the Teaching and Learning Symposium on Social Justice in Higher Education. Remember what has happened to the new college in Florida, and know that social justice is an issue of our humanity to each other. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Roberson. That sounds like a very exciting program, and I can't wait to attend, so I hope everyone vote down the date. Next up, we have Ms. Veronica Gerasimo, Assistant Dean of Student Life and Leadership, to talk about the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion Student Passport Program.
Hello. Ooh, look at everyone. You're beautiful. Hi, Omega. All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Veronica Gerasimo, and today I'll be sharing some insights on our Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Student Passport Program, also known as DEI SPP, because, there's always an acronym. DEI SPP is a free 8-week online program that offers students the opportunity to become leaders amongst their peers and within the community in DEI efforts. The program's purpose is to guide students through difficult and intensive topics and discussions to build cultural competence and allow for deep introspection, reflection, and growth. As of course, the journey of DEI, we have some, we call our facilitators navigators, and we call our students travelers. So if you hear me talk about those words, that's what that means. DEI SPP was built in the shadows of the summer of 2020, when so many of us were looking for ways to provide spaces for healing, opportunities for community building, and ways to be part of the change, part of the movement and the movement. Building from our sphere of influence, Collaborative partners from different areas of the college came together to build a program that has now run successfully for 5 semesters. I'd like to take a point to recognize those who helped to develop and facilitate the program: Amala Agbury, Deliana Acosta, Diana Galvez, Javi Hall, Natalia Vasquez-Vakin. We had our student navigators as part of the program: Xavier Pratt, Jana Roberts-Gervais, Mitesh Kalithia, and then one of our main facilitators and helped us build the program from the beginning, your lady, Rosario Hernandez. Yeah. CEO and founder of Mosaic Justice. Paula just spoke about the new college. Your lady was actually the head of DEI of the new college, and if you read the articles, lost her the job. So we're thinking about your lady and hoping for a brighter future. It is also extremely important to give gratitude to the OSHI Opportunity Meets Innovation Challenge Grant, awarded to HCCC in the summer of 2021, which helped to fund the growth and development of the program towards institutional stability. Thank you so much to our college leadership, the offices of Student Life and Leadership, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for all the support in this program. And most importantly, a shout out and a thank you to our student travelers who participated. And we have some of them here today. Could our students who completed the program stand up? Yes. And a special shout out to Gerardo Leal, who was in our first cohort, one of the first students to complete the program. He was here today with his wife. Over the course of the 8-week program, can you go back to the slide before? I'm sorry. Over the course of the 8-week program, students are introduced and educated on the topics of implicit bias, privilege, microaggressions, unlearning and relearning social constructs, inclusive language and allyship, and advocacy in action. These workshops are kicked off with an orientation and introduction, so to provide students with an overview of the program, set expectations, and begin to create connections. And it concludes with a wrap-up roundtable to ensure that the lessons that are learned in the program have realistic ways to be put into action. Through the discussion boards and assignments, students found a place that they could be their authentic selves. They found peace in others who relate to them, and learn from their peers who have different cultures and lived experiences than their own. When students complete the program, they are awarded the title of Equity Leader, which they wear proudly on the stole on their commencement day. And as a benefit to completing the program, many of these students' equity leaders are provided with the opportunity to join PAC Day, the PAC Day Student Action Group, as a DEI SPP student navigator, and other related opportunities to be DEI leaders in the HCCC community. Over the past 5 semesters, we welcomed 235 students into the program with a completion rate that continues to increase each semester. Last semester, we had a 73% completion rate of the program, showcasing that our efforts, showcasing that our efforts to continuously build the program are working. And we are extremely proud of this program that we've had the opportunity to share nationwide, presenting at HCCC's Teaching and Learning Symposium on Social Justice in Higher Ed, NJCU's Community College Showcase, and the nationally regarded National Conference on Race and Ethnicity in Higher Education within 3 months last summer. We were busy. As we enter the 4th year of the program, we are so excited to watch its continual growth. We welcome Pedro Santiago, Student Life and Leadership's new Assistant Director, who will be serving as lead navigator for the program. Additionally, we look for and continue to witness ways to expand the reach of the program, which includes the development and growth of HCCC's The Sisterhood, La Humanidad, a program that was formed where we saw a need to support our female students and the travelers, and conversations to offer this program to the incarcerated students in HCCC's Academic and Workforce Pathway Program. The Fall 2023 program will start at the end of September, with registration form opening at the beginning of the semester, and we hope that when you see that email in your inbox, you pass it along and share it with your peers. Next slide, please. And I want to leave you with, one more. Pictures. Thank you. Almost there. There we go. So I want to leave you with the words that are most important, those of our students. I honestly just joined the program out of sheer curiosity. It was free and it was online. I figured, why not? I went into this program thinking that it's just like watching a TED Talk, DEI topics, that I would learn some basic principles. And as I went through the program, I didn't just learn. I contributed to the thoughts on the subjects. Turns out, having a safe platform to share their thoughts cultivated deeper understanding of what DEI truly is. My favorite thing about the program was the insight that I received from everybody else's posts, the modules themselves, and what it revealed to me about myself. It was great, and now I can go into the world, operate differently, change my mindset, and change my language. The program will be one of the reasons why this world heals. I'm so proud to be part of this. It's going to help me in my future profession as a nurse. Lastly, just a few. I admit that this course hasn't been very enjoyable at points, and honestly a bit uncomfortable, but that's exactly what makes it so important. The issues we learned around privilege, discrimination, racism, sexism, and inequalities are problematic and can be hard to discuss, especially when having to assess our own constructs and our own biases. Part of the problem is that these topics aren't discussed enough. So by learning and addressing them, we can get rid of the stigma and we can be empowered to take action and support each other. Thank you so much to the leaders of the program. You have taught me and shaped the way I look at the world. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Veronica. The DEI SPP program is a program that I had the pleasure of learning more about and taking a small part in, which was such a huge honor. And that program has been a catalyst for other programs that we've created in continuing education and workforce development using that model and that learning style. So I want to thank you personally because that really informed a lot of how we're creating programs and infusing DEI into it. So thank you. Next, I have the pleasure of introducing Ms. Amala Ogburn, Associate Director of the North Hudson Campus, who's going to speak about Cornell University's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Certificate Program.
Thank you, Anita. And Veronica didn't mention, but Anita, Dr. Robeson, Chris Cody all took the time out to be keynote speakers at our DEI SPP completion ceremony. So thank you, because you all did a wonderful job and we appreciated having you all with us. Good morning, y'all. Anita mentioned, my name is Amala Ogburn. I'm the Associate Director of the North Hudson Campus and Project Manager for our partnership with eCornell. About 2 years ago, when we got the OSHI grant that Veronica mentioned, the grant allowed us to offer HGCC students, employees, and trustees with the opportunity to participate in their Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Certificate Program. Thanks to the grant, we were able to offer this $3,600 certificate program to our community members at no cost to them. Really quickly, before we get into numbers, I want to ask anyone that has participated in the program to stand. Whether you've completed it or not, if you've participated, please stand. Look at that. Wow. Shout out to all of you because the program is not, it's not hard, but it's not that easy. It's a lot of work. It's a commitment. It's an 8-week program. Each course is 2 weeks, and it takes a lot of work. And initially, we started out, we did offer it to students, and then we scaled it back and pushed our students towards DEI SPP as a first step before they completed eCornell. So we do have some folks that were able to do both programs, and it's different. Even though the topics are similar, it's a very different experience and a very different program. So shout out to all of you who've participated in one or both. Under our contract, we were able to offer approximately, these are the numbers. If you don't remember anything else I say today, please remember the numbers. Under the grant, we were able to offer a total of 180 people the opportunity to participate in the certificate program. To date, we've had a total of 171 people participate, 91 participants successfully earn their certificates, 17 on schedule to complete next week on August 1st, and then another 25 in September. When I wrote my remarks, we had 5 seats left, and now we don't have any more left, so shout out to everyone for using those seats. But if you missed out, don't fret. We still have another partnership. HR and eCornell are working together to offer our community members, our faculty, staff, and employees the opportunity to take any of their certificate programs at a discounted rate. So it's approximately $281 per course if you're interested in taking any other certificate programs through eCornell. You can reach out to myself or someone in HR to get more information about it. But if your supervisor agrees, this is me quoting Anna, If it's part of your professional development program and your supervisor approves, you can take any of their certificate programs at a discounted rate. And if you are eligible for tuition reimbursement, you can use your tuition reimbursement for those programs as well. So like I said, if you would like more information, you can reach out to myself or Anna in HR. Thank you.
Thank you, Amala. Next, I would like to introduce Elizabeth Ryan and Andy Adler, academic counselors for the Hudson Scholars Program.
It's a packed house here at Pack Day. That's awesome to see. Thank you. First off, thank you for the opportunity to come and speak here today. I could spend all day talking about the Hudson Scholars Program, so it's going to be a real challenge to just talk 5 minutes. Hudson Scholars started about 2 years ago with the idea of trying to serve as many students as possible to expand on some great existing programs such as ASAPS and EOF. We focus on giving intentional care to our students, so we have reduced caseloads of about 150 students each counselor. We have about 10 counselors in our program. We are very excited to say that we are expanding our team. Each year has been great. We've been able to onboard more counselors. Because we have reduced caseloads, we are able to provide those individual care, individual attention to students' unique needs. So we have devised like tasks and programs that our students are able to participate in. They're focused around getting students connected to campus resources and help them get prepared to transfer or enter the workforce. That being said, we have done a lot of great work to help address the needs of our students and help narrowing down the equity gap that our students are experiencing, which Liz will touch upon.
Next slide, please. So there's a lot going on this slide. I promise I'll walk you all through it and it'll make sense by the end. I'm going to start with the chart over on the left-hand side there. So the dark colored columns there that you're seeing are our average fall-to-fall persistence rates from fall of 2015 through 2020 for first-time full-time college students, broken down by racial and ethnic group. As you can see, as highlighted by the comparison group bar there, the range of outcomes between racial and ethnic groups is quite wide. However, working with the Hudson Scholars Counselor starting in fall of 2020 and continuing forward has improved the likelihood of success for all students, especially traditionally underrepresented students, and resulted in a 73% reduction in variance for fall-to-fall persistence among the different racial and ethnic groups. So as you can see, the kind of lighter colored bars that hopefully you can see from way in the back there, that are taller than the original bars, we've increased the persistence rates across groups, and we've also narrowed the outcomes between groups. Super proud of that. That has helped contribute to the institution-wide fall-to-fall persistence for traditionally underrepresented first-time full-time students to increase by 15% and by 18% for term 4. Now, if you're not a stats person, you didn't understand anything I just said, let me put this in terms of people. 69 more traditionally underrepresented students are still here than would have in previous years. So we're really proud that we've been able to impact students in that way. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that information. Next, we have Anna Kropitsky, Vice President of Human Resources, to talk about Title IX and gender equity training.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for having us. Thanks for all the visitors and guests and our wonderful employees for engaging this really packed room. I will echo as someone who has worked on putting or helped put this all together. It's really wonderful to see the engagement of our employees and community members coming together in a relatively short time to put something like this together in such a meaningful way. And I do want to give a shout out to Yuris and Rafi for leading this effort. Thank you so much for your hard work and your late nights and early mornings. So as the Vice President for Human Resources, one of the ways that I support the role in the college is in my role as a Deputy Title IX Coordinator. So that means for Title IX, as some of you may know, is a federal law that prohibits sex discrimination, that includes pregnancy, sexual orientation, and gender identity from educational programs and activities. So what does that mean for Hudson, and what does that mean for a college environment? We want to make sure that everyone feels safe. We want to make sure everyone feels included. And the way the college has supported that very important effort is first through just coding our policies and procedures to ensure that we have processes, training, education to prevent sexual harassment and other forms of sex discrimination. In the last couple of years, with the work of PAC Day members, DI office, and others, and the OSHA grant that Veronica had mentioned, we have been able to put together community training for this effort. So in the spring of 2022 was probably our first, for those of you who have been here much longer than I have, I do believe it was the first time that we have brought the whole community together for Title IX training. That means students, staff, and faculty. And so in that effort, we had close to really 1,000 people that were interested in the training that showed up either remotely or in person. And it was a wonderful way to engage the community in such an important and sometimes not very pretty topic. So I'm the Title IX Deputy Coordinator. Dr. Yuris Pujols is the coordinator for Title IX, but we also have a very robust Title IX team that's made up of our security officers, our student affairs folks on each campuses. So we work as a team if we need to. Thankfully, we have been doing really well in education and training thanks to these efforts. And so just this past spring, we had another round of community training efforts on the ground. I was really happy to see a lot of our employees come in. This is an area where it's, for the most part, it's the same. It's the same idea. You want to feel safe. You want to be able to not feel uncomfortable when someone makes a remark or actually does something. But at the same time, the law changes sometimes, and so we want to make sure that we are following through with the law, and so certification is important. So all of our Title IX team is certified in some capacity, whether you're an investigator, advisor, coordinator, and there are various levels. This is how broad and how deep the area of law and an area of importance it is to make sure that we're keeping everyone safe and we're creating an inclusive and welcoming learning and working environment. I want to also know, last semester in the spring, we were approached by our Student Government Association with their leadership with Student Life and Leadership, and combining the It's On Us campaign that many of you may have heard about with a national-wide campaign on preventing sexual harassment. And so we put together another program. So some of us are PAC Day members, and our DI office, our Title IX team members were included in that. And it was truly under the leadership of our students. So we're grateful that keeps transcending in that ways. And we will continue to make that effort. And then finally, I will take a moment to talk about our diversity recruitment efforts, especially with the college investing in an applicant tracking system that we are in the process of implementing. And this is where we really want to take the time to assess how we're doing in terms of diversity recruitment. So this would be a wonderful opportunity for us to do that. So I wanted to plug that in. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. Next, we have Ms. Tejal Perk, Assistant Director of Educational Opportunity Fund, which is EOF, to discuss the CARES team.
All righty. Pretty short, guys. Grand Rising, good morning. How's everyone doing today? All right. No. How are we doing today? Woo! All righty. Awesome. First and foremost, welcome to all to Hudson County Community College and to our Pack Day retreat. We're super excited to welcome you all here today. First and foremost, before anything, I definitely want to recognize our EOF program and our scholars and our staff. Please, if you can stand up. Awesome. Thank you so much. We currently have our summer academy that is occurring this summer. We're super excited to have our scholars to represent here today in this important cause and discussions that we have. As the Pack Day member and co-chair of Subgroup Committee 3, as well for Safety, Security, and Incident Reporting, I'm here today to present in regards to the CARES team. So, yes, thank you. In 2020, the CARES team was pretty much created to support those here on campus during the pandemic. I am just pulling up an updated version. So sorry for the... Okay, so in fall of 2019, Dr. Brian Van Brunt, president of the National Behavioral Intervention Team Association, visited HCCC. One of his recommendations was for the college to establish a care team and a process for the team to review and respond to campus concerns, because your concerns are important to us. This is a reason also for the PAC Day for the President's Advisory Council on Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. In January of 2020, the CARE team was formed. The CARE team has been meeting since the onset of COVID-19 on a weekly basis to review the cases of care and concern. Here is our CARES team, many members that are here in the room. If you are a member of the CARES team, please stand up. I would love for us to applaud you in your work. Thank you. Awesome. Thank you so much for your work. This has been an honor to be a part and a member of this important team and the work that we do every single week. Doreen and her team, Caroline, who is not on this, but we will be updating her membership as well, one of our newest social workers, and the work that we constantly do every week to meet together, especially with the interns that come in. And with that, the services that we also provide in the next slide in regards to mental health and counseling, our wellness center for our free short-term mental health counseling, referrals to community providers, support groups, remote virtual, our mental health workshops and events, suicide prevention, domestic violence, training for our staff, Talk Campus. This is something important. For many of you who don't know, we constantly, as part of my subgroup committee for PAC Day Group 3, our goal for incident reporting and services is definitely to remind everyone of the opportunities to make referrals. So when I was a scholar here, we didn't have any support services in this way. And to see how Hudson County Community College has moved forth in that manner to support our scholars, our staff, et cetera, to ensure that we provide them the services that they need when it comes to mental health counseling and so forth is very vital. So please make sure to make, any type of referrals. That's what our program and the services are here for, to support you all. If you find that there's a scholar or, your faculty or staff, and we want to support our scholars here on campus, there should be no barriers to constantly support them and include them here on this campus. Aside from this, we also have our Hudson Helps Resource Center. We can go back to, yes, thank you, which is also important. The director, Catherine Morales, and her team, such incredible work as well, constantly throughout every semester. The food pantries that are located right across from our office in the J building, as well as the North Hudson Center in the 5th floor. It's very important to promote these programs, the Single Stops Benefit Screener, the Career Closet, Ariana, as well as Catherine and the team. the community resources and partnerships that we do have, health screenings, and our social work interns. Once again, Mr. Eric Okai, who previously was one of our social work interns here and is now our EOF counselor. Yes! To see that and have that opportunity for them to get exposed in that way with our college here is amazing. Our next slide, please. Thank you. Once again, the care cases, as you all can see here, when we started in 2019, as we continue to grow into 2023, as of June 2023, you can see the cases here that we're working on a case-by-case weekly basis with our incredible staff and our CARES team to support your concerns. That is our goal. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tasia. Next, we have Dr. Yuris Pujols, Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, who's going to talk about the Racial Equity Leadership Academy, RELA.
Thank you, Anita. I just wanted to take a quick moment to recognize some of our friends that have come in recently. I just wanted to recognize Joyce Waterman. She's the Council President of Jersey City. Also the Vice Chair of the Board of Trustees of Hudson County Community College, Trustee Lee. And also Trustee Jenny Pena, I believe she's here as well. Thank you. Now, you heard about the Hudson Scholars Program. In the Hudson Scholars Program, you see how how we were able to apply the program for all students, essentially address all students and still have an impact on completion gaps, equity gaps, and see how students are retained at a higher level and how they're able to complete, not just stay from one semester to the other, but for a year, 1 year to the other, and also to complete the program at a higher rate. Our participation in the Racial Equity Leadership Academy is a partnership between Achieving the Dream and the University of Southern California Race and Equity Center. So it's a one-year program. It's a one-year program, and you have to select one specific effort, like one focus area, and one population. So we looked at all the external data, internal data, and we decided to work on the Black and African American male students, retention and completion. This is a group that we've been meaning to work on, and the Hudson Scholars Program has shown, you saw the visual, how we were able to decrease the completion rates, right, and the retention rates from one semester to the other. So our goal here is to essentially eliminate those gaps. So we have developed a program, if you go to the next slide, that we're working with two coaches, one coach for the University of Southern California, another coach from Achieving the Dream. We have regular meetings, and we have identified this particular program, right? The Eliminate Retention and Completion Gaps for Black and African American male students. There's a core team, meaning that there are 5 members of the college community that was selected to participate in this program, and we were selected by our roles. So Chris, the president, me as the Chief Diversity Officer, Dr. Jones as the Chief Academic Officer, Professor Gian Batiste as a faculty member, as also Anna Kopitsky as the Vice President of HR. So that core group is also supported by an external group of individuals from the college. There are a total of 12 of us. So we have a meeting with the coaches, and we have a meeting with each other to make sure that we're advancing the goals and the plans that we set forth. So if you could advance the slide, please. So we divided our work. It's a total of 10 different strategies, but we divided it into 3. First, we wanted to make sure that whatever efforts or actions we take, they're based on data. So the strategy 1 is really data mining, finding out what is there, what needs to happen, what is really happening, and identifying gaps. So, disaggregating and identifying gaps, specifically in the Hudson Scholars Program, like going deeper into that. And just a point that I wanted to share with that, an area that we saw that was meaningful it's students that register after the first day of classes. There's like a big component there that they do not get to participate in the program, and then the completion rate is lower. So that's an area that clearly, we wanted to take action on. Researching external best practices. What are other people doing out there? And then using that, to also leverage this information, and serving and documenting, conducting a focus group with students. Because sometimes, we want to make the right decisions, but the students' perspective, their experiences, is really telling, right? And that's really important. Next slide, please. Strategy 2, it talks about 2 of the pillars of Hudson Scholars. These are areas that have really led to the changes, the decrease in gaps that we witnessed, that we saw. So we wanted to see how that could be tweaked or adapted to make sure that it serves this particular population that we're working on. So, identifying academic milestones for awarding monthly financial stipends. That's a part of the Hudson Scholars Program. And the other one is providing support and professional development opportunities for counselors and faculty mentors, again, to better support this group that we're working with. Next slide, please. And the final strategy is just everything that we need to do to folks outside Hudson Scholars. Again, this will be informed by strategy 1. What are the best practices out there? What are all the colleges doing to advance the success of this group? And 2, what is our own data showing? What are the gaps that are there? So these are the other activities to make sure that we're able to increase their engagement, their participation, and make sure that we're all there. But this is just a snippet, as our peers from the Hudson Scholars Program mentioned. We could probably talk for a long time on this, but we just wanted to give you a little introduction to that. So with that, again, thank you. And I just wanted to give an update. Reverend Sharpton is on his way. He should be here in a moment. But thank you.
Thank you so much. So those are some amazing programs, just a few of the programs that we have here at Hudson. What we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break, a 6-minute break, refresh your coffee, bathroom break, whatever you want. We're going to come back here at 10:30 and continue with our program.
One more person in the room. Did you recognize yours? Norma Fernandez? Norma Fernandez? Superintendent is here. I thought yours was telling you.
There are others. I think I'm going to miss it.
Okay. Okay, but I don't know whether she's going to be here the whole time or not. Okay. Okay.
Was that an accidental call this morning? No problem. So, how is the game with Cece? The what? Okay, all right.
Mic check. Testing, mic check, 1, 2, 1, 2, mic check, 1, 2. Mic check. Okay, mic check, mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Okay, still crackling. Okay. Mic check.
Good morning and welcome back. Hello, everyone. Good morning and welcome back from break. Thank you, everyone. Can you hear me? So it was really nice to have a little break, get some coffee, a little bathroom time, do some networking, meet some new people. I would like to take this opportunity to thank a few people that are in the room. Denise Ridley, Councilwoman in Ward A of Jersey City. Thank you. Norma Fernandez, Superintendent of Schools, Jersey City. Thank you. And Cynthia Blue, the Executive Board Member of BLESC, which is Black in Law Enforcement, serving the community. Thank you all for everyone that is in the room and participating in this retreat today. Now, we'd like to take a few moments to introduce Lori Margolin, the Vice President of Continuing Education and Workforce Development, to talk about some of the programs that we have that are DEI focused. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. You heard about the amazing programs that we have here at Hudson County Community College, and we have a few more as kind of a bonus to talk about this morning. Continuing Education and Workforce Development is a very comprehensive program here at the college and very community focused. As Dr. Reber always says, we take community and our name very seriously. So we offer courses that are just fun to participate in, yoga, culinary, things like that. We have skill building courses like Excel. We also have courses that result in certifications like program project management. And then we also have workforce development courses, which train people in a skill, result in an industry recognized credential, and employment after that. So it's really a wide range, and DEI is front and center in what we do. And one of our priorities is building pathways so that students can come in where they're comfortable, participate in a program, and then work, maybe come back so they could start on the non-credit side, maybe taking a workforce development course in healthcare, in getting a Google IT help desk certificate, work, and then come back and then be able to pick up on their education and pursue an academic certificate or degree in a way that works for them. And we believe very much that this is an equity issue. One of the programs that we're engaged in is called the Non-Credit Alignment Lab. And we were fortunate enough to be one of 14 community colleges nationwide to participate in this effort. And it's specifically looking at students as students are students, whether they're non-credit or credit, they're a student here, and moving from non-credit courses, aligning those with credit like we've done in supply chain management, cannabis, we're looking to do in advanced manufacturing, as well as several other areas. And this allows students to not be able to continue without having to retake courses. So it's not that if you take the course on the non-credit side, we're able to provide credit or articulate credit for that so that you start not at 0, but you start at 3 credits, 6 credits, 10 credits, and you don't need to waste money. So everything you do is aligned in terms of what you want for your career. And we believe very strongly that this is an equity issue and a priority for what we're looking to do. So we have that program. Another one of our programs that we're really proud of is called Gateway to Innovation, which was initially funded by a grant from JP Morgan Chase. And we started this at the height of the pandemic, and it was actually born right during the beginning of the pandemic. And it's meant to address the workforce ecosystem and how that the pandemic has exacerbated the issues in terms of that system. And we developed a very comprehensive program that looks at students and looking to support our students during that time of the pandemic and going forward, because many of these issues were present before. They just were, we just saw them more. They were in front of us and they were hard to avoid. Our alumni, to assist them during this time in terms of employment, looking at our community and providing programs for them to look at careers that are recession resistant, that are not as susceptible to things like the pandemic or others, and then also to prosper and to grow and to work with our employers in many sectors in the Hudson County area, and work with them to identify in-demand careers and to align curriculum around those careers so that we can really sustain what we're doing. So this is really an exciting program that has grown from healthcare programs to tech and finance, includes financial counseling, and there's really a lot of support for students, alumni, and community members. And we've been so fortunate to be able to continue this program with additional funding in addition to the JP Morgan Chase funding. Another program that we're extremely proud of is an apprenticeship program in advanced manufacturing with Eastern Millwork. This is a program that we primarily recruit students from local high schools. The apprenticeship is a 5-year apprenticeship program. Students obtain an associate degree and a bachelor's degree within that time. They earn $70,000 at the end of the apprenticeship and have no college debt. And this has given opportunity to many students who might not have had an opportunity like this to have a career and really be able to earn and learn. So they're hired right from the beginning, and they attend Hudson County Community College, and they're working. So for example, they'll have a class in AutoCAD, and then the next day they'll be on the job and they'll be working with it. So it's really a way to reinforce, and it's been around for a long time. Generally, we think of apprenticeship programs in the construction trades, but it has been expanding to these non-traditional sectors. So we're really proud to be part of that and to be partnered with Eastern Millwork. We have many, many others. I don't know how much time we have, but before I go forward, I just would like the Continuing Education and Workforce Development team to stand, because I want to thank you for all your work. This is a very passionate group of people. Thank you. I guess maybe I'll mention one more program that you're going to hear more about this afternoon. So a little plug for our work with Justice Involved Students. We have a partnership with the Hudson County Department of Community Reintegration. And we work with the Hudson County Correctional Center, where we provide a program with workforce courses as well as programs towards a degree, right at the correctional center, and we support them with our student success coaches who are here today, and you'll hear more from this afternoon. This program is distinctive, and then I think it's one of the only programs in the country that is in a jail, in a county jail, that's a virtual program that offers a degree option. So we're really thinking out of the box and doing things that haven't been done before, and kind of, you know, when we're approached or when we think of these potential programs, how can we do this without looking at what has been done before, but really, how can we make this work? How can we get to our end goal, and that is to have students be successful? And we know the benefits of education for people who are incarcerated. So I think it might be time to say goodbye. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori, for that. Next, I'd like to introduce our recent alumna, Tiana Malcolm. She was the former president of the Pac Day Student Action Group. She was also the former director of DEI in the Student Government Association. Tiana, please come up.
Good morning, everyone. How are you doing today? Good. It is my great honor and privilege to stand before you today to introduce a truly remarkable individual, a prominent figure whose unwavering commitment to equality, justice, and social change has left an indelible mark on our society. I'm speaking, of course, no other than Reverend Al Sharpton. In the realm of civil rights and social activism, Reverend Al Sharpton stands tall as a beacon of hope, a tireless advocate for marginalized communities, and a force of positive transformation. His lifetime of work has exemplified the core principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion that are all at the heart of the DEI Summer Retreat. Reverend Al Sharpton's journey as a civil rights leader and preacher began at an early age. Since he was a young man, he has dedicated himself to fighting against racial discrimination and systematic injustice. With a passionate spirit and an unyielding determination, he has fearlessly confronted the challenges facing our society, never shying away from difficult conversations or backing down from confronting power imbalances. Throughout his career, Reverend Al Sharpton has been instrumental in amplifying the voices of marginalized communities, raising awareness about their struggles, and advocating for their rights. His ability to galvanize, support, mobilize communities, and effect change has made him an influential figure on the national stage. Throughout his organization, the National Action Network, he has provided a platform for community leaders, activists, and everyday citizens to address pressing issues and work together towards a more just and inclusive society. Reverend Sharpton's contribution extends beyond civil rights activism. He is a celebrated author, a charismatic television and radio host, and a trusted voice on matters of social justice. His ability to articulate complex issues with clarity, empathy, and unwavering conviction has earned him widespread respect and admiration. Whether it is speaking truth to power, inspiring others, Through his words or leading by example, Reverend Sharpton has left an indelible imprint on the right for equality. Today, as we gather for this DI Summer Retreat, we have the privilege of learning from one of the foremost champions of social justice and equality. Reverend Sharpton's presence here is a testament to our shared commitment to fostering diversity, equitable, and inclusive environments. His insightful experiences will undoubtedly inspire all of us to deepen our understanding, challenge our assumptions, and actively work towards dismantling barriers that hinder progress. Let us embrace this opportunity to learn from a man who has dedicated his life to creating a society where every person, regardless of their background, is treated with dignity and respect. Together, let us forge ahead and collectively journey towards a brighter and more inclusive future. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Reverend Al Sharpton.
Very well. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, and thank you for that kind introduction, and thank you for all of you that have gathered this morning for this, I think, very needed and worthwhile gathering and confab on DEI. It's interesting that you do this at a time that DEI is under question, which means that this gathering is more important and more necessary than ever. Let me start by saying how I got to be involved and even being concerned. She said that I started very young. My story is one that will explain why I ended up getting involved in the first place, because everyone in this room has a story. And sometimes when you become known in the media, people act like you were born on television and that you didn't have a story or a reason to do what you do and why you do it. I was born in Brooklyn, and my father was a business person. He owned several buildings. He was a contractor, and my mother was a housewife. They also owned the corner store. So we were a black middle-class family, owned the building that four-family house we lived in. Did well enough to move to Queens, and at that time, Queens, New York, to us was like we moved to the Hamptons. And I was 3 years old when they had put my sister and I in church, and I started really watching the church services very carefully. And they put us in what was called the Junior Usher Board. And the Junior Usher Board was the kids that would have pass out the programs and help seat people. And they would every year have an anniversary to encourage the kids and give us our little limelight. And it was time for the Junior Usher Board. A year later, I was 4 years old, and I said I wanted to preach the Junior Usher Board sermon. And they let me preach. And I did all right, and every year I would preach. By the time I was 7, I was doing churches around Brooklyn. But one morning, I woke up, I was 10 years old, and my father had left. He abandoned us, went with my stepsister, built a whole nother family. My mother couldn't keep the house. The Cadillac they had was repossessed. Soon I had, my mother couldn't pay the utilities. And we had to do, my sister and I, homework by candlelight. No heat in the house. For 6 or 7 months, finally we moved to Brooklyn to the projects. Now the reason I tell this story is that I learned before I was 11 years old the difference between zip codes. Because when we moved for a few months into the Albany projects, I kept asking the kids in the neighborhood, in the projects, well, why is all that garbage piled up? And they said, oh, they pick up the garbage on a Saturday. Well, where I lived in Hollis, Queens, they picked it up every day. Somebody were injured, they'd call ambulance. It may come 3 or 4 hours later. We were used to instant. So it was this inequality that I saw at a tender age that probably was the seed of my becoming an activist. Some people in civil rights discover it in college. I had not even gotten to junior high school because I had actually lived it in my life based on a zip code. I was the same kid. I was the same little boy preacher. And people that have gone through family trauma understand what that is. One minute you're the cute boy preacher, everybody's patting on the head. Next minute you're the kid whose father was no good. All in the same church and the same people. Not that I'm talking about them, but as you can see many years later, I haven't quite gotten over that. So as I began to get involved in the area that I was living in, I was not embraced as much by the kids there in Brooklyn, because a lot of their parents would go to hear me preach. By then I was known in church circles, and you couldn't cuss and do stuff around boy preachers. So I spent a lot of time watching news and stuff in the house and our little apartment, and I became enthralled with Adam Clayton Powell, who was a congressman and an activist in Harlem and was a preacher. So I said, I want to be that kind of preacher. My mother didn't want me to leave the church, so she brought me to our bishop, and he brought me and introduced me to, at 12 years old, the Reverend William Jones, who headed Dr. King's organization in New York. Dr. King had just been killed, and he introduced me to a guy named Jesse Jackson, who was twice my age at the time, and the rest was history. From that time till now, I've seen a period of advancements and a period of retreat. History is always full of forward movement and backlash. And if people think because you see one movement forward that that is permanent, then they are not people that have studied struggle or engaged in struggle. Every time there is a step forward, there's going to be a push backward. And anyone that is sincere, serious, or that is studious, which I hope you are in this conference today, and I commend the college and the president for having it. You study these things so you're not taken aback. For example, I've seen many movements jump up, we get a breakthrough, and we think it's over. It's not over. It's that you must sustain what you broke through, build on it, and prepare for those that are going to try to make it go back. The country was built that way. For many years, there was those that had the abolitionist movement against slavery. There was no one supporting them. One of the ways that you can find real trailblazers is when you do things that are not popular, but you do it because it's right. If you do it because it is popular, then you will never break through. Because if breakthroughs was popular, somebody would have broke through before you. The fact is that those that Martin Luther King used to say, there are two types of leaders. There are thermostats and there are thermometers. Thermometers tell you the temperature in the room. Thermostats change the temperature in the room. Thermostat leaders change the climate in their time. And the abolitionists were not fashionable or not popular. They were thermostats. They chipped away at the idea of how can you enslave human beings and make them work for nothing? How can you dehumanize them? How can you take and break up their families? And they fought this from the beginning of the country. The first slaves recorded came to this country, Jamestown, 1619, in South Carolina, 1619. We didn't even have a formal country till 1776. So by the time they got to the Bill of Rights and the Constitution, we've been in slavery 150 years, which means the concept in the country was built on the supremacy even before they said these are the laws of the land. But there were those that opposed that. Many of them white, many of them Quakers, many of them other things, and they were the outcasts. The country started building. The country started as a rebellion against the autocracy in England. They started building, started making money. The money in the South was basically based on cotton. North was building industry. Cotton became the largest export in American history at that time and became an outgrowing industry worldwide. So the monies that they would derive from exporting to all over the world cotton and then later tobacco made this country as wealthy or wealthier than England that they left. So this was not just an act in we looking down on blacks. It was profitable to them. There's nobody in here that wouldn't get rich if you could make people work for you and didn't have to pay them and you were making a profit. They reinforced this arrangement with racism. So racism was not only something that they wanted to deal with socially, it became a good business practice. I have a work base, I don't have to pay them, I make them feel they're less than human, it's against the law for them to marry, because I don't need a whole lot of romance stuff on my, I need you in the field, because the more you in the field, the more cotton you produce, the more cotton you produce, the more money we make. As we got into the 17th and 18th century, then we began to see there became a division between the North and the South. The North saying that, well, we want to deal with trade a little differently. The South said we're going to protect our Southern business arrangement and the way we govern. Finally, the country split between Confederate and Northern, the Union, and Abraham Lincoln reluctantly said that we're going to have to fight to end slavery, not because he was then convinced it was wrong. He always had a different attitude than others, but he was not an advocate. But because he said to save the Union, we're going to have to fight and defeat the South. Even then, it was a gradual step, and the reason I emphasize that is I'm going to get to it later. Gradually, Lincoln started listening to the abolitionists. There was a former slave who had escaped the plantation named Frederick Douglass. He even gave him an audience. And gradually he started listening, but he was not all the way there. Soon there became reports to the president that there was defeats all over the South. And the Confederate Army that was going to overtake the country had gotten as far north as Virginia. The abolitionists convinced President Lincoln that you need to free the slaves. Let them join the Union Army because they will fight and back these people up. There are thousands of them. And the way to get them to fight is to let them know that if we win, they will be free. Lincoln reluctantly signed the order to let blacks in the Union Army and free them in the slave states, not the southern, the northern states, the slave states. And they freed them in the northern states. They joined the Union Army and they started defeating the Confederates and driving them back. And over a period of time, the Union Army became successful and the Union Army won the Civil War with the help of black troops. That's why I often say that people say that Lincoln freed the slaves. I say the slaves freed Lincoln. So after that, everybody joined hands and sung Kumbaya? No. There was backlash. Free the slaves, change our culture, end our economic profit. Backlash. They're going to try to figure out how to get even. He signs an Emancipation Proclamation, 1863, and says that as of midnight, January 1st, slaves are free. You can walk off the plantation. Many of you that have a black church experience know we have in the black church what we call watch night service. And watch night service now is where we wait for the new year to come in and we all celebrate a new year. We thank God, and some of us go home, thank God. Others of us go to the party and get whatever. But watch night service really started because the slaves were waiting to see it strike midnight, to see if Lincoln was going to keep his word and they could walk off the plantation. And that's where watch night started. January 1st comes, midnight goes, slaves can walk off the plantation. But what people talk too quickly is walk off the plantation illiterate because they didn't have, by law, they couldn't read and write. A white would be prosecuted and maybe hurt if they taught them to read and write. They had no families. It was against the law to marry. They had no idea what state their child was in or their wife who they couldn't marry. So you walk off the plantation to become what? No skills, no education, no family. So what they developed was what they called Reconstruction, to be able to bring and construct in people's lives what they destructed. And in order to understand DEI, you've got to understand Reconstruction. We would not have had to have Reconstruction had there not been destruction. So when people say, well, look what we did for blacks and others in Reconstruction, you did it because you deconstructed them. You're not doing people a favor that you rebuild who you tore down. Reconstruction only lasted 12 years. Backlash. Brought in the Supreme Court, a conservative Supreme Court, had various Supreme Court decisions, Plessy versus Ferguson and others, the rise of terrorism, the Ku Klux Klan, and by the turn of the century, 1900s, blacks were being lynched, and there was no legal process to protect our rights. Couldn't vote, couldn't participate. And from that to 1954, it was legally instituted. We couldn't go to certain schools, could not sit in the front of buses and public transportation, could not use even public toilets, by law. 1954, Brown versus Board of Education, first Supreme Court decision to break some of that down. 1955, we see Rosa Parks sits on the front of a bus in Montgomery, Alabama, refuses to move, and it started a boycott that began the mobilization all the way to the Civil Rights Act of 64. I tell you all that because, again, backlash. Passed the 64 Civil Rights Act, breaking down segregation, 65 Voting Rights Act, giving us the right to vote. Then we see as the voting rights happened, it helped to lead to where women had gotten the right to vote in the early part of the 20th century, because don't forget that women, white women, were not allowed to vote for the first 200 years of the country. And then you had people that come to the country that were, quote, immigrants, that were told here by a marquee that we call the Statue of Liberty, bring me your tired, your huddled masses that yearn to be free. And then when they got here, we asked them, what are you doing here? Well, you asked us to come here, and they helped build the country. And then you discriminate against them for coming and doing the labor that the other laborers weren't doing. Ever since there was an economy, blacks were either slaves or doubly unemployed. To this day, in a good economy, unemployment is about 3.5%. Black unemployment is almost 6%. In a good economy, blacks are doubly unemployed. Yet they will try to divide us by saying, well, Latinos coming from Mexico taking our jobs. What jobs? We were unemployed before they ever got across the border. But if they could play us against each other, your problem is the Mexicans or the Latinos or whatever. And they tell them your problem is that you understand blacks are lazy. And all they want to do is party and they have babies out of wedlock. And as long as they got people that are being underprivileged fighting each other, they never have to worry about them addressing the systemic problems. We talk about the idea of crabs in the barrel always dragging each other down. But suppose if the crabs had a meeting in the barrel and decided that they would work on taking the lid off the barrel. If they could take the lid off the barrel, there'd be enough room for all the crabs. You wouldn't have to climb over each other. So as we have gotten further in history, one of the things that we've tried to do is build coalitions among our communities. I remember in 2001, there was an island off of Puerto Rico called Vieques, and they were doing Navy bombing exercises on the island. It was causing asthma and cancer to young children on this little island. And I was writing, we have in National Action Network, the group I lead, we have rallies every Saturday morning in Harlem. And I was riding to the rally that morning, and I heard that one of the leaders of one of the unions in New York, Dennis Rivera, had gone to the Navy exercise and had laid down, and they arrested him, and many in Puerto Rico was doing it. And I remember when we had a police killing in New York of a young man from Africa named Amadou Diallo, that many of the union leaders and Latino leaders went down with us to the police station and got arrested with us. So I said, well, if they stood with us, we got to go down and stand with them. And I flew to Puerto Rico. We went and laid down on a Navy base showing unity. And some blacks, why is he down there with the Latinos? Because we all fighting the same fight, and they went to jail with us. Got arrested. They finally brought us to court about a month later, and it was 3 that went through the gate with me. So they had the 4 of us stand in front of the federal judge there in San Juan, and the federal judge called the 4 of us up, and the defendant number 1, who was an assemblyman, said 30 days, you went through the fence. Defendant 2, who was borough president at the time of Bronx, you were 30 days, federal jail. Got to the 3rd guy, who was the Bronx district leader, Roberto Ramirez, 30 days. He gets to me, and I'm the only one that wasn't Latino. He looks at me, he says, Reverend Sharpton, you've been arrested many times, 90 days. So I said, wait a minute. We're in Puerto Rico. The Latinos got 30 days, I got 90. Something about this coalition ain't working out. But that's the price that you pay. And while I was in jail, they stopped the Navy bases from doing that in Puerto Rico. You have to pay a price. You have to be willing to pay a price. What makes people great is they will do what others won't do. And they will invest what others won't. Where there's no investment, there is no reward. You can't go to the bank and withdraw more than you deposited. And many of us want to have, Frederick Douglass talked about it, we want to harvest, but we don't want to plant, and nurture the crop. So we went and we fought, got the right to vote, fought, got public accommodations, fought, and said that we need to be able to get into these corporations, which DEI became something that we fought for by putting pressure on these corporations, by saying that you need to have diversity in your employment, diversity on your boards, diversity in who you give contracts to. Why? Because we are your consumers. If you don't distinguish between how you make your money, why do you distinguish where you give the jobs and where you give the contracts? You take our money, consumer dollars, and build up your neighborhoods and then talk about we live dire. You are living in your neighborhoods off our money. So either you are going to be able to have programs that are diverse, or we need to start withdrawing our money. We don't have to shop with you. We can shop with your competitor if they respect us more. And that's where the idea of, wait a minute, we need to diversify. Those that will tell you we do not need diversity, ask them, then why do you have a diverse consumer base? You sell to diversity, but you don't want to administer diversity. So in that, they developed backlash. 2008, we elected a black president, first time in American history. I knew when we elected him, there was going to be a backlash. The whole campaign, as I would deal, I was very close with President Obama. The whole campaign, they would, well this or well that. And first person to run for president that they wanted to question where was his birth certificate. And all kind of crazy stuff. Becomes president, everything he did, they wanted to fight. Got organized, re-elected him. Backlash. Right after him, Donald Trump's elected. There was a backlash. I didn't know it'd be Trump. I knew Trump for years. I never thought Trump would be president. I don't think Trump thought he'd be president. But I understood there was this backlash. And it was a backlash against all of us, blacks, same people that didn't like blacks, didn't like Latinos, they were anti-immigration, didn't like women, didn't like gays. So my thing was that if all of us are being despised by the same people, even if we don't agree on every issue, if we all got together, we could beat them. But as long as they can keep us separate, they win by our division rather than their strength. They're not as strong as us if we're together. Now, I don't have to become less than I am to get along with you. We're getting ready to have a march August 28th. The 60th anniversary of the first March on Washington around all these issues, hate crime, immigration, all that. I meet on a weekly basis, Martin Luther King III and I, with Jewish leaders, Latino leaders, women leaders. I don't have to become less black to work with you. You ain't got to be less Jewish and less Latino. Coalitions mean that you come as you are and work like grown folks with each other for mutual interests. And anybody that feels insecure about working with people that are not like them, you have a problem with your inner security. They don't have a problem. I remember 12 years ago, this August, I started my show on MSNBC. And the one thing I give credit, the president at that time was a white gentleman named Phil Griffith, who's now retired, but he's on the board of my organization. he said when they were writing all these scripts and all of this and the newspapers writing, how could they give Al Sharpton a show? He said, don't write him no scripts, let him be Al Sharpton. And that's what I do. If you got to be less than what you are, then you don't have a principled, authentic relationship. And that's if you're Latino, if you're Asian, whatever you are, be that. But also understand that if we could work together, those that are against us all must face us all to back this up. In the last year, even more probably shorter than that, last 8 months, the Supreme Court has outlawed women's rights, came back and knocked out affirmative action, came back and said that you can keep LGBTQ out of your business, which is a violation of civil rights, and came back and canceled forgiveness of student loan debts. All happened in the last 8 months. Why? Because the Supreme Court is 6-3 conservative. 3 of them nominated by Donald Trump. A third of the Supreme Court are Trumpsters. A third. So all of those that ran around talking about, well, I'm not voting, ain't no difference between Hillary and Trump. You put 3 people on the Supreme Court. Because even though you may not agree with everything like Hillary, and I didn't agree with everything with Hillary, Hillary would not have put 3 people on that court to do the things I just named. So we need to operate in a strategic way that, no, voting is not going to get everything you want, but it'll get some things you want that. All of what we're doing, marches don't get everything. People say to me all the time, well, y'all have a march, I'm tired of marching. And most folks tell me they're tired of marching, they've never been to a march. It's like me saying I'm tired of figure ice skating. I ain't never done it. Marching is not designed to solve a problem. Marching is designed to expose a problem. If somebody doesn't show by the forces of the populace that there is a problem, nobody's going to solve a problem that nobody exposes. That's why I said when I preached the funeral at George Floyd's funeral that people always say, well, Al Sharpton just want publicity. That's exactly what I want. Don't nobody call me to keep a secret. Nobody called me and said they shot my son in the back, but don't tell nobody. They call me because they want me to blow it up. Because you cannot get change if you cannot change the conversation to include those that they don't want to talk about. Whatever you do, don't let them keep you silent. Don't ever give consent with your silence. Because as long as you can create the noise necessary, they will have to not ignore you. And those that have made it to the top made it because people at the bottom created the climate to make it possible for them to do it. I remember I was debating one night a self-proclaimed black conservative. And it was at some university out in the Midwest. And in the middle of it, he said, Reverend Al, he says, I'm not into all that marching and civil rights stuff you do. And he took out, he said, look at my resume. I went to the right schools, went to Ivy League schools. I have a member of the right fraternities. And I'm a member of the right private clubs. Look at my resume. Civil rights didn't make my resume. Look at what made my background to where I'm an executive now at a certain company. And I took his resume and I looked at it, I said, right in front of him, I said, yes, very impressive. You did go to the right Ivy League schools, you remember the right fraternities, you have the right background. And you're right, civil rights did not write your resume. But civil rights made somebody read your resume. not the first smart Negro in America. There were Negroes smart before you, but they couldn't get in those schools, and they couldn't get those big jobs, and they couldn't become a member of those private clubs. And don't you ever forget some unlettered, illiterate grandmas laid down in the streets of Birmingham and Selma and sponsored you. You were sponsored to be where you are. You had doors open to be where you are. And people opened them doors that knew they would never be able to walk through themselves. But their hope was if they got you through, you'd keep them doors open and make sure that others would come through behind you. So I come to say to you, as you have this conference today, they are attempting to close the doors. They have a Supreme Court stacked. They have right-wingers in certain political office. They're trying to close the doors. And your job is to get past your differences, to get past whatever you don't like, and keep them doors open, because you walk through some of those doors. Don't let them close the doors. We may have different lifestyles. We may have different sexual orientation. We may have different gender, but don't let them close the doors. We may have different feelings about each other, but don't let them close the doors, because if they close the doors, it will be decades again before the doors open, and your children and their children will suffer because we were not mature enough to keep those doors open. The bloods that bind us is thicker than the waters that divide us. Thank you, and God bless you.
Reverend Sharpton, on behalf of the entire Hudson County Community College family, thank you for being a thermostat leader and a trailblazer, and for inspiring all of us, and for joining us today. We have this memento of our appreciation that we want to present to you, and it has been an honor having you here with the HCCC family. Thank you so much.
Everybody nice and close, nice and close.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. You know Governor McGreevy?
I tell you how to. All right, okay. All right.
And if I may, I want to also just recognize former Governor Jim McGreevy, who's here, Jim, and Reverend Bolivar Flores, who made it possible for Al Sharpton to be here today.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. That was a really inspirational, moving keynote speech from Reverend Al Sharpton. After this, we are going to head downstairs. If we can give a few moments, we're going to head downstairs to the banquet room for our luncheon and awards. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you downstairs.